Welcome back to Game Galaxy, and today I wanted to share with you my top 10 favorite arcade games. I've always loved the arcade, and I still frequent arcades today. There's a favorite one I go to in Pasadena, California called Neon Arcade. It's absolutely wonderful. They've got tons of classic games. You pay $10 for an hour, and everything's on free play. I absolutely love that place. So just keep in mind, as always, this is not a definitive list to rule them all. These are just my personal top 10 picks of what are my favorite arcade games. So starting in the number 10 slot is Tempest. Tempest is a sci-fi shooter from 1981. Tempest is a very unique and addicting fast-paced game. The presentation is a three-dimensional tube to which you can rotate your ship around and shoot at enemy ships that are approaching you. When you complete a level, you have to avoid spikes as you fly through. Tempest is one of those arcade games where it's just not the same playing on emulation as it is on the real machine. And that's because of the control scheme. It uses this rotary dial to rotate your ship around the tube, and that just can't be emulated properly like it can be on the actual machine. Playing with the dial is extremely fun because when things get crazy, you can really spin it super fast to move around quickly. I've been meaning to see if there's some sort of USB arcade stick that includes a dial because that would be awesome. This style of play is so addicting and unique that I look forward to playing it every time I visit an arcade. For my number 9 spot, I'm picking Street Fighter Alpha 2. Now, Street Fighter 2 was the king of the arcades, of course, and revolutionized the genre, but I feel that Street Fighter Alpha 2 nailed the formula perfectly. I loved the fluidity of the gameplay, the colors, and the animations. Ken's my favorite character, and I liked that both Ken and Ryu got an added ability to roll if you do down, back, and punch. It's so simple, but it's definitely something I use often and love having. I also like that these games heightened the difference between Ken and Ryu and included super finishing moves. I'm reiterating here, but the gameplay is so fluid and fast-paced. The Alpha series started to include other characters from other Capcom franchises like Final Fight, so you get to be able to fight Guy and other Final Fight characters from the universe. So Street Fighter Alpha 2 is Street Fighter perfection in my book. Number 8 goes to Mystic Warriors. Mystic Warriors is a run-and-gun action game from 1993 developed by Konami. It's the spiritual successor to Sunset Riders and was developed by the same team. Sunset Riders is a great game, but Mystic Warriors takes the formula and gives it a ninja theme, and that's why Mystic Warriors stands above for me. The action is fast-paced and fun, and the colors of this game are gorgeous. Each time you play, depending on who you pick, a different member of your team will be randomly kidnapped by the enemy gang, and you'll have to go rescue them. There are 5 characters to choose from, and they all have really cool names. There's Spyros, Kira, Kojiro, Yuri, and Brad. I always thought that was so goofy. They all kind of have Japanese or ninja type names, and then there's Brad. You'll go all over the place in this game. You'll snowboard down mountains, swim underwater. There's no place you won't go. Fly high in the air. The action is just wild and crazy, and it's always a blast to play with a friend as you traverse through a wide variety of unique locations battling the evil Skull Gang. Number 7 is a very recent addition to my top 10 list, and that's Violent Storm, an awesome beat-em-up from 1993, again from Konami. Konami was on fire in the 80s and 90s, set in a post-apocalyptic environment after World War III has ended. The streets are ruled by evil gangs. Our heroes Wade, Kyle, and Boris are vigilantes looking to fight back against tyranny. As you can see, the sprites are huge, and the pastel color palette of this game is absolutely gorgeous and truly one of a kind. I can't think of any other game that looks like this. Violent Storm has a lot of humor, and it knows how to have fun. From the lighthearted music and bright colors to goofy things like picking up baby pigs on a train that turn into footballs for you to throw at the enemies. It's this kind of goofy, lighthearted fun with an awesomely cheesy soundtrack ranging from rock with vocals to terrible early 90s rap that keeps the action fun, fast-paced, and smooth. One element I really enjoyed is when you try to throw enemies much larger than yourself, you really have to sit there and tap the button, or else you'll fail the throw and they'll just fall on you and you'll get hurt. So that was an element I've never seen in any other beat 'em up, and I really enjoyed it. Violent Storm has honestly been an awesome discovery, and I highly recommend everyone play this gem of a game.
Yahoo! I knew you would come to rescue me. Let's get out of here.
My pick for number 6 has recently dethroned Ms. Pac-Man, and that's Joust. Joust was developed by Williams Electronics and it hit the arcades in 1982. In Joust, you play as a knight riding on a flying ostrich, battling enemy knights riding buzzards. What's great about Joust is that it's a nice, simple gameplay formula that anyone can pick up and play. This is also a great co-op game that leads to a lot of hilarity, especially because you can hurt one another, which can lead to some frustrating but also funny moments as you try to avoid each other during the frenzy. Bonus points are awarded to successful cooperative play, and when facing off with an enemy, the person with the higher lance will win the joust. For this reason, I always just try to land on the person from above. Joust has become a favorite game for my wife and I to play together because it's endlessly fun and different every single time. Joust went on to produce many clones and influenced Nintendo's Balloon Fight, which I've also mentioned that I love very much. I highly recommend you grab a friend and play Joust. You'll be surprised at how much time will pass as you say to each other, "Let's go again." Now my number 5 spot is Golden Axe, Revenge of Death Adder. Now interestingly enough, this isn't my favorite Golden Axe game, which is Golden Axe 2 on Sega Genesis. But when it comes to the arcade, this one had to make the list, and it revolves around my experience with the game. Back in high school, when I was a junior in high school, probably around 2005, I played pit orchestra in the musical, and I believe the musical that year, if I'm remembering correctly, was Guys and Dolls. But anyway, school would get out at 2, and we wouldn't start the rehearsal for the music until 3 or 3:30. So that gave us time to mess around and go do stuff. So a group of my friends and I, we went to this fast food restaurant in Romeoville, Illinois called Brothers Home Plate. I think it is long gone now. I think it closed years ago, but it was your typical trashy fast food place like hamburgers, hot dogs, gyros, that kind of thing. But one of the things they had there was an actual Golden Axe Revenge of Death Adder machine. And my mind was blown because I'd never seen it before. I was like, what is this? So all 4 of us, myself and 3 other friends, crowded around this machine. We popped quarters in it and we just had a blast, and I loved it. And it was those group of guys that we then, after that experience, I suggested we all play Gauntlet Legends together. And so we all went through Gauntlet Legends together as a 4-person unit later on, and that was an important thing to me. So that memory right there was just so special in making that game special to me. Golden Axe Revenge of Death Adder definitely stands apart and is unique from other Golden Axe games. It's the same kind of gameplay, complete with those awesome full-screen magic attacks, but all the locations and enemies are unique to this game. There are also branching paths you can choose as you progress through the levels, which is a nice touch and gives variety. The only bummer is the game will eventually make you go back and do all the paths you didn't take, which is kinda stupid. You can do team-up throws on enemies which do massive damage and is great to do against boss characters. All in all, the memory I have with this, mixed with the surprise of its existence, will always be kept as a favorite for me. Number 4 is an insanely fun shoot-'em-up game called Dodonpachi. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is the best shoot-'em-up I've ever played. The gameplay is incredibly smooth, and the game is also not overly insanely difficult like other games of the genre. There's 2 methods of fire. One is the normal barrage of bullets you can spray by tapping the fire button, and the other thing you can do is create a laser beam that cuts through enemies if you hold down the fire button. So different attacks are useful in different situations. You can also throw out a screen clearing bomb with a bomb button, or if you hold down the fire button and press the bomb button, you'll shoot out a massive laser. This is extremely useful to use against boss characters. There's 3 ships you can choose to fight as with different playstyles, and you can also choose to have your shots be powered up or power up your laser when you collect power-ups. Also, while using the laser, some bullets won't hurt you and some smaller enemy bullets won't kill you either. It's refreshing in a genre like this, full of one-hit kills, to not die from everything. There's an awesome killer rock soundtrack that pairs nicely with all the chaos on screen. You can play this game with 2 players, which I have yet to do, but Dodonpachi is such a great time and I highly recommend it. Number 3 is one of my favorite beat-em-ups of all time, and that's Cadillacs Dinosaurs, released in 1992 from Capcom. This is based on a comic book and cartoon series I actually wasn't familiar with in its heyday, but nonetheless, it's a super fun beat-em-up with a cast of 4 characters, each having their own special abilities. I love how when using a gun or weapon, there's these comic-type onomatopoeia sounds like pow and bang. Up to 3 players can play simultaneously, and you're on an adventure to stop black marketeers hunting and enslaving dinosaurs. Dinosaurs. Behind them all is an evil mad scientist creating human dinosaur hybrids resulting in hideous creatures, and it's up to you to stop them. The gameplay is so fun and satisfying with great music and great artwork. If you've never played Cadillacs and Dinosaurs before, you owe it to yourself to play it. Number 2 is my go-to arcade game when I just want a quick gaming session, and that's Galaga from Namco. Galaga is the sequel to Galaxian and improved on the fixed shooter Space Invaders style to perfection. The normal game allows you to only have 2 active shots on screen at a time, but I much prefer the midway variations of this game that have the fast shooting enabled. It makes the game a bit easier but also more action-packed. If I'm in the mood to challenge my skills, I'll play the normal version though. I also love getting captured by the enemy tractor beam on purpose, so that when the enemy dive bombs you and you shoot them, you can get your shit back and have double the firepower, making you even more powerful. Not only is this game simple and clean fun, but it's a great game to challenge yourself on getting further each time and getting a better high score. I play Galaga all the time and will continue to do so because it's just a perfect classic. It's time for my favorite arcade game of all time. This should be no surprise to longtime viewers of the channel, but it's Outrun. I fell in love with Outrun when I played it one summer over and over again at a fast food restaurant near my house. I spent tons and tons of quarters in it, and I absolutely love Outrun. Outrun is an awesome driving game where you race against the clock through checkpoints with your girlfriend. The classic music of Outrun and beautiful colors and smooth gameplay totally engrosses me. You get to drive a Ferrari Testarossa Spider from 1986, and that's just awesome. Outrun has an incredible amount of replayability because there's forks in the road before each checkpoint, and you can choose to go either left or right. Depending on which way you go will change the location and terrain of your course as well as the difficulty. Dodging traffic and avoiding flying off the road involved a mix of using brakes and downshifting to lower the gear and shifting back into high at just the right moments. I hope to one day own an actual arcade machine of Outrun. That would be so awesome because that game is so special to me. Please, after this video, go check out my full series review of Outrun, where I talk about all the Outrun games throughout the series and throughout the years. I really wish Yu Suzuki and Sega would collaborate one more time and give us another Outrun game, or just please re-release Outrun 2006. But anyway guys, those are my top 10 picks for my favorite arcade games of all time. There's so many other awesome, badass arcade games that I didn't include on this list, and I couldn't include on this list because 10 is too small of a number. And while I was going down my list and saying this to the camera, I realized I left out another favorite of mine, which is Alien vs. Predator, that awesome game from Capcom where you fight the aliens or you could be the predators. That game is absolutely awesome. So please, in the comments, let's share our love and passion for arcade games, and please let me know your top 10 personal picks for arcade games. Let me know in the comments below. And there's so many more awesome arcade games. I think I'm gonna have to do another arcade video in the future, but thanks to MAME and emulation, I'm able to still enjoy many of these arcades games today on the Raspberry Pi, and I've got a very, very awesome USB arcade stick that I play these games on. I'm going to talk about this in another video in the future, but thanks again for watching so much, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future, and I'll see you next video.